Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I just finished filming my fall FabFitFun unboxing and now I have migrated over to a slightly more comfortable and laid back area to do a little COVID health and fitness update, I guess you could call it. I haven't done one of these in a while because of COVID, essentially. And no, your eyes do not deceive you. That does say February right there. So if that doesn't tell you, yeah. So a quick rundown about our year. James and I started like getting healthier, you could say, last September, October-ish, like really making a push, I guess you could say. But in December, we started going to the gym regularly, and when January hit, we both signed up for a bunch of challenges, and we were just like, this is it. Like, we had each other's motivation, we had the challenges motivation, and we just killed it, to be honest. We did great. So January and February were both looking really good. Just the other day I was scrolling back through my Instagram from the beginning of the year and it was kind of depressing. Yeah, it was just kind of depressing going through and like seeing how happy I was with everything and how good I felt and how good I looked. Oh man, it was fantastic. You know, there were still rough days and times, and I don't know that social media super shows that because, you know, you always post your best self. Well, not always. I don't always do that. Sometimes I don't. But for the most part, you know, you always put out your best self out there. And COVID definitely kind of killed that for me. When we started really feeling the effects of COVID was about 2 to 3 weeks into March. That is why this never got updated, because at first I was just running a little behind on it. And then everything just kind of fell apart for me. It was bad. We kind of had a double whammy of things happen because we had two completely different job responses because we have two completely different jobs. So because I work in healthcare, we actually started screening people for COVID back at the end of January. I went back through and found like when we first got those emails. We started asking people, have you traveled to China? Have you traveled to Asia? Have you traveled to Africa even at one point? And then have you traveled to Italy? Have you traveled to Europe? And then have you traveled out of the local area in the last 14 days? And then it got to the point where now we just screen for just the basic symptoms. My girls that sit up front and check patients in have to ask every single patient if they've used hand sanitizer. They have to make sure that they're wearing their mask appropriately. And they have to ask them, have you had a fever in the last 14 days? Have you had coughing, sore throat, shortness of breath? Have you had fever or diarrhea? Have you had contact with somebody who tested positive? Are you awaiting results yourself? And I think I missed something, but those are the main things that they have to ask every single person. So you imagine we check in 40, 50, 60 patients a day, and the girls up front are asking that over and over and over again. They have to ask them that on the phone when they schedule. It's insane. So we started doing this kind of thing way back at the beginning of the year. In January and February, it wasn't that bad. You know, COVID was still not super crazy. But in March was when our areas started getting infected. Washington had a bunch of cases over on the West Coast, And because it was in Washington, which is where we are, even though it was on the coast and we're on the east side, we had to take preparations. So as I mentioned, my work and James's work had two different experiences. My work got slammed. We work in a medical clinic. We got so busy. We had to start seeing sick patients outside because we didn't want to bring them inside and contaminate the clinic. Everybody taking care of these sick patients had to be fully geared up in PPE, personal protection equipment, gown, glove, mask, face shield, the whole 9 yards. So literally in March, in snow and rain, we sat outside and saw patients. And we still do that to this day, but it looks a lot different now than it did when we first started doing it back in March. Now it's not that bad at all, and it's not very many patients. It's been good because we've maintained a clean clinic, but it definitely put a strain on our staff for a while. On me personally, I was dealing with that and the stress of trying to kind of run the clinic, helping everybody. So now in September, I've been in my supervisor position for just a little over a year. So I'd only been in my position for 6 months, 8 months at this point. So it was definitely a big jump for me. I was still in school. I've been in a break over the summer and I go back in October, which is a whole nother story. But I was taking classes. I was dealing with COVID. Everything closed. That's another thing. We couldn't go to the gym. All of the restaurants were closing down. DoorDash got this huge push for food delivery. It got bad. I want to say we fell off the wagon, but I almost feel like relapsed is a more appropriate word. So on top of all of my stress with work, with just everything just being crazy, James started working from home. So that was his big change, is his company. At first, they started just sending volunteers home. He ended up being kind of in the second wave of volunteers because at first he wanted to stay at his office. But then we talked about it, and just with everything going on, with me not being able to risk any extra exposure because I had to stay at work, with me having more exposure because of work, we were just like, you know what? You should come home. So he decided to come home, and not long after that, his whole office got sent home. So they all work from home now. So James has been working from home since the middle of March. He didn't have a real desk until July or August. I think it was July that we got him the desk and the chair. So he has a better setup now, and we don't know when he's going back. We don't think he's going back in 2020. We don't know if he's ever going back. So as I was saying, my work's crazy. James has a huge change with his work. And we really did relapse. No gym, no fitness, food out the wazoo. We did not stay consistent. We did not follow our budget. We did focus on now, in the wrong sense. And we definitely didn't focus on our health. We definitely focused on pleasure in the moment. Let's order Pizza Hut. Let's order Wingstop. Let's order whatever. Yeah. Then we did go through a phase where we were walking outside a bunch, and that was really great. And every day, after work, we even started getting up in the morning, going before and after work. So we were both hitting 10,000 minimum steps. That was really great. Then May rained the entire month. Then June rained almost the entire month again. So that's up through June. And then in July, near the end of July, our gyms were able to reopen with, like half capacity and mask requirements and all that kind of stuff. But we did start going back. We've been trying to go more regularly since then. But we have still been having a really hard time dialing our food back in. That is something that is hard to start, hard to get consistent in, easy to be consistent in once you are, and then so hard to get back to. Gosh, so hard. I cannot believe how hard of a time we have struggled with getting back to being healthy. We're trying to make little changes, like, hey, let's do the Papa Murphy's $10.99 Tuesday, but let's only get the $10.99 large pizza, and only, like, we don't need two. We don't each need our own. We don't need leftovers that'll last multiple days. We need one pizza. We actually got a family-size pizza most recently, so that's a little bit bigger, but then we didn't eat the whole thing. We both each only ate like a quarter, so there would still be leftovers, which is a double-edged sword. We don't always want to have leftovers of our bad food, but we also don't always want to just gorge, right? So we're getting back to making those little habit changes, because that's a big part of being healthy. You don't want to deprive yourself all the time, because then you're just gonna really fall off the wagon. But you also don't want to just go ham. So we're making those little changes. We're getting back in the gym consistently. We've got some really good practices back with our budget, thank goodness. And we're back on the 12-step recovery program to being healthy. It's really a bummer, to look back on where we were 6 months ago and be like, man, we were doing so good. I was so pleased with how my body was looking. Not because I had lost a bunch of weight. In fact, I hadn't lost much at all, but because I was getting muscle. I was looking toned. I was building a booty and it looked pretty good in leggings. Like, honestly, that's where I was. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I am ashamed that I lost it all and I have to start from scratch again. But that's life. I know it is. It's a bummer, but it is. So I just wanted to put our story out there. Maybe there are others like us that have had a hard time since COVID. But I do believe that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I don't enjoy wearing a mask, but it definitely doesn't feel as hard to do as it used to. It's just another thing, you walk out the door and you put your shoes on and your coat and grab a mask. And I do hope that we will get back to a more normal world where we won't have to always wear them. And I do hope that, my clinic doesn't have to start seeing a bunch of sick people outside again to where everybody's freezing. Yeah, I hope that things get more normal. I think it could be a while yet until that happens. Unfortunately, I don't really know. But I think, again, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Oh, man, I feel like this video has been kind of a bummer. Like, oh yeah, Megan, let's talk about COVID. Yay! Who else is tired of hearing about COVID? The other thing that I wanted to do today was update my board. I think it is time. I think that is a big step in the right direction, because one thing that really helped at the beginning of the year was having the reminder. And this is almost more of a reminder of our failures right now, because it is still for February. So now we need a new reminder, a fresh reminder for the rest of September, and then I will try to update it for October, saying, we've got this. So I have my letters, and I'm gonna put some up. Okay, so I had to jump off really quick because I hadn't realized that I hadn't cut out more of my little words, my little letters. But I did get that taken care of, and now I'm back. I decided I'm gonna leave health and budget on, but I'm gonna move their locations. And then I am adding 2 different words. So my very first word that I'm putting on here is gratitude. I'm using gratitude for a few different reasons. I feel like gratitude can change your outlook on everything if only you give it the chance. Gratitude can make a bad day turn good, can make others feel good, can make you feel good. Gratitude, I don't feel like I'm doing as good of a job as explaining as I could be, but gratitude is just a huge deal. And especially right now with COVID and with everything being kind of difficult with work, and also with anticipating going back to school soon, I think I need more gratitude in my life. I actually got the idea of using gratitude from a sign that I have here in our house that says, gratitude turns what we have into enough. Because if you're thankful for something, if you are grateful for it, all of a sudden life isn't so bad. Next, we're gonna have health, because health needs a oomph in our lives. I think we're back on the right track, but like I said, it's gonna take us a while to get back to where we were. And then the other word I decided to add is mindset. And you might be thinking, like, Megan, isn't that kind of the same as gratitude? And yes, it is similar, but no, I do not believe that they are the same thing. Because mindset can mean a lot of different things. Like, mindset can be all day I plan on going to the gym, and then I do it. And gratitude doesn't really play into that. Mindset can be, it's the weekend and I'm going to get all of my chores done on Saturday so that I can rest on Sunday. Or all of my homework, mindset to me could be interchanged with like determination. Like, I'm going to make these choices for myself and they are going to be positive. Versus gratitude, for me, is kind of like stopping the whole the grass is greener scenario. Not wishing that things were different, but making them different. Not wishing that we could buy a house, but being happy in our apartment. So that's those 3. And then our final one is going to be budget, because we still need to be better about our budget. So here we go. For the rest of September, I'm going to work on my gratitude. I'm going to continue to try to be healthy and be budget friendly. And I'm going to work on my mindset about all things. I'm gonna hopefully continue to do these things to October. And so I will either at least switch out my month, because that's not that hard, Megan. Or maybe I'll even change up the words, because maybe in October we'll have a new goal. I think right now these are going to be solid goals to have posted out in our living room, and hopefully this really helps us continue to get better. So thank you all for joining me today. I hope that you have found this talk helpful or interesting or anything. I know COVID has been hard for a lot of people, myself included, But I do believe that things are going to get better, and I believe that we are all going to come out of this stronger. I think 2020 has really brought the whole what doesn't kill you makes you stronger to a whole nother level. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So at this point, I don't know what else to say, and I'm just gonna keep awkwardly making little quotes. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. I want to be there and baby dance the night away. I let my head down the fire one. Don't you just get tired chasing fame and being pretty all the time? Doesn't sound like fun. You can do better. Let me show you what a good time looks like.